Hey guys, it's Licious Kid from ClimaxCombo, and today we are back with another Leaks of the Week. I'm still a bit behind, so this week will feature cards from March 16th to March 20th. Um, so last week's leaks, um, the last week or this video will be the final week for Milky Holmes booster, since the Milky Holmes booster did come out on the 20th or the 19th. So yeah, final week for Milky Holmes. And I guess with that out of the way, we'll just get right to it. So first off are these level 3s, 3295, 3210K, 3210K, 3295. These are the exact same cards as the respective level 3s that we saw last week. Like this 3210K is the copy of the Yukata Dress Netto that we talked about last week. And same thing, this is 3295 is an exact copy of Cordelia, and this 3210K is a copy of the Eddie, and this one is the copy of the Shadow that we've already talked about last week, so I'm not going to go over it into again. So yeah, when I was doing the video or the review about Shadow, I didn't know what this Overdrive Tokui Sora was, because her changer can either turn to Yukata Dress Netto or Overdrive Tokui Sora. I wasn't sure what that other name was. I thought it was going to be a new card in the new set, and it is, but it's not a different card. It's essentially the exact same card, just with a different name. And so yeah, the signed cards in this booster will just be voice actresses instead of the characters, and of course along with the good old signed. Pretty cool thing to do, but I personally just like the normal signs better, but that's just me. But do keep in mind, even though they have different names, they have an extra effect. You can only place a total of 4 cards with the same name as this card and Yukata Dress Netto. So even though they have different names, you can't run 4 of this and 4 of the Yukata Dress Netto, because that'd be pretty funny if you could run like, if you wanted to be a dick and then just run like 4 of this Overdrive Sasaki Mikoi, because she's the clock shooter of the set, and I don't know, it'd be pretty funny if you ran 4 of this and then 4 of the Eddie clock shooter. That'd be kind of funny, but no, you can't do that. You can only run a total of 4, either 2 of this and like the other 2 of the 2 of the signed variant and 2 of the normal version. So that's the only difference. So yeah, not gonna really go over them because honestly, this doesn't really change. It doesn't change anything about the review I already gave them in the prior weeks. So yeah, let's go on. So on to Tuesday, 2195R, staring at the truth Cordelia. She's a detective and sports. What she does is, first of all, she's a 2/5 backup. However, she has an additional effect. When you use this card's backup, you may pay cost, which is pay an additional 2, discard a card. If you do, choose one of your opponent's character whose level is greater than the opponent's level and place it onto the bottom of its owner's deck. So it's essentially anti-change. However, what this anti-change does is that it sends the opponent's character to the bottom of its owner's deck, which is of course has its benefits because since you're sending it to the bottom of the deck, they have 0 chance of encoring it, since you cannot encore a character if they're sent back to the owner's deck. So yeah, that is one benefit to this Cordelia. But however, of course, the Cordelia is a little expensive, much like all anti-changers. She's pay 3. In total, you pay 3 because you have to pay 1 for the backup, and you have to pay an additional 2 when you use the backup. However, when you use this Cordelia as backup, you must discard a climax. Some anti-changes, you know, just require you to discard a card, I believe, or they just make you kill your own character, much like Nisekoi's. So a little heavy, and you do have to discard a climax, which may not be there for you all the time. But however, it is an anti-change, and with so many sets having all these early summon level 3s that come out at level 2, if your set has anti-change, I highly advise you run maybe one, at least one, because anti-change is really good. Except the Love Live anti-change. I really don't like that Nico anti-change. I think it's pretty bad. Oh well, but that's just me rambling. So yeah, anti-change, good for the set. You might as well run one because the anti-change is cool and it's good. So yeah. Next up, 2175 uncommon, not singing Cordelia, detective and sports. What she does is this ability. What she does is she has her first effect is this ability can only be activated once per turn. When you place a climax on your climax border, this card gains plus 2/5. She climax combos with hidden flavor in the curry, which is this stock 1 soul here. Choose 1 green card in your waiting room, place it to stock. All your characters gain plus 1 soul. So the stock 1 soul. So when you play the stock 1 soul, you may pay cost, which is 1. If you do, this card gains the following effect until the end of the turn. When this card reverses its opponent in battle, you may place that character to its owner's clock. not a bad climax combo. Not definitely not a bad card for an uncommon, I'd say. First off, she's 2175, which is of course very low power. However, her first effect is not bad because when you place a climax, she gets plus 25, and it can be any climax. It can be the gold bar, it can be her respective climax combo. It can be a gate, it can be whatever climax you want, and she will gain plus 25 power, making her sit at 10k, which is very respectable for a level 2. And she is a clock shooter, and her clock shoot is essentially free because you pay one when you play the climax, but the one stock you pay is the one stock that you get from the stock one soul. So honestly, you're really not paying any stock at all. So it's essentially kind of free. However, it's not guaranteed because you have to pay the one when you play the climax. And if you don't successfully reverse your opponent's character, then you paid one for nothing, which isn't a big deal because the stock you paid was essentially the free stock you got from the stock one soul, but still, just something to keep in mind. And she is a clock shooter, and she's not restricted to any level, so you don't have to like kill a level 2 or anything like that. You could kill anything, and you get to clock shoot. But despite all that, I don't really think it's gonna be ran just because of the 3-2 Eddie that we saw a couple weeks ago, or the 3-2 Mikoi or whatever, the 3-2 clock shooter that combos with the gold bar. I think that one will be the preferred choice of a clock shooter because you don't really need a level 2 clock shooter. And if your set has a level 3 clock shooter and you want clock shooting that's tied with the climax combo, you might as well be running the level 3 variant because the level 3 variant is also good. And yeah, that level 3 clock shooter Eddie is just good, so why not run the superior clock shooting option over the level 2 option. But still, this is a very solid uncommon, so maybe if you're a budget player or you just like Cordelia, then yeah, definitely a solid uncommon, I'd say. But in your serious builds, I would just say run the Eddie over the Cordelia, to be completely honest. Next up, let's go on. This is a 2-1 2k backup. Rage Alice. What she does, she's detective. What she does is she's a 2-5 backup. However, when you use this backup, and you have a character with Alice or Kazumi in its name, choose one of your battling characters, and it gets plus 1k until the end of the turn. So if you are running the Alice and Kazumi build that we have seen being prominent in this booster throughout the last couple of weeks, then of course this is going to be staple in your Alice and Kazumi builds because you're always going to have an Alice or Kazumi on the field. So this will always be a 3-5 backup. I don't know if the Alice and Kazumi build will be running the climax swapping backup, the 103k backup. I don't know if they really need that. I'm not too sure if the Alice / Kazumi builds need to do the climax swapping. From what we've seen in the booster so far, I don't really think they're reliant on the climax swapping shenanigans. Actually, I don't really remember, but still, can't go wrong with running one or two of these climax or backups if you're running the Alice / Kazumi variant because it's a 3-5 backup essentially. So yeah, if you're running the Alice / Kazumi variant, then definitely go add a couple of these, and it's only uncommon, so it's fairly cheap as well. And lastly, the stock one soul that combos with the 2-1 is a climax common. On to Wednesday, 00500R, Winter Gift Eddie, Detective / Book. What she does is she's an assist in front. During your opponent's turn, all your characters in front of this gains plus 1 level and plus 500 power. Does that sound familiar? And as another effect of, oh, that's just my phone. Pay 2, place this card to rest, search your deck for up to 1 book character, show it to your opponent, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So this is Off-Time Makoto, a card that we all hate, but yeah, so Off-Time Makoto, now Milky Holmes has access to it because it's a 500 in front assist and a plus 1 level assist only during your opponent's turn. May not sound like much if you have never played against the Off-Time Makoto card. May not sound like much, but honestly, it's really good. The plus 1 level is what really pushes this card to being awesome because having plus 1 level is just honestly really good. Yes, there are other assists that do provide plus 1 level, but most plus 1 level assists usually are level 1 assists, but having a level 0 that gives plus 1 level and 500 in front during your opponent's turn is honestly really good. It makes your characters really hard to kill at level 0s. It makes your level 0s unsuicidable, and some sets level 0 games are really weak and just are it's really dependent on suiciding and if they have something like Off-Time Makoto or Winter Gift Eddie, then the level 0 game goes from weak to pretty much really crappy, and that just sucks. So yeah, this Winter Gift Eddie is really good. However, her secondary effect is not as good as the Off-Time Makoto because the Off-Time Makoto can pay 2 rest and you get to search for a music character, which is the entire set. However, Eddie has to search out a book character. From what I know, the book characters are Eddie, and I'm not too sure how powerful Eddie is herself. Like I said in the past, I am not a Milky Holmes player. I don't own the deck, but I've played a couple good Milky Holmes. I played good Milky Holmes players in the past, so I have a general idea of how the set works. But I never watched the anime. I have zero idea what Milky Holmes is about, so I don't really know the characters, and I don't really know all the Eddie cards in the set. So I don't, from just what I know from playing other people, and just from what I remember, I don't really think there's that many good Eddie cards. So I don't think her pay to rest is gonna be as powerful as it is in the the IMAS variant, the Off-Time Makoto. But and also to keep in mind that Milky Holmes is dependent on the back row because you have to pay. The Milky Holmes player usually constantly taps their back row to swap the level zone with a card in their waiting room, so that way their characters gain the extra benefits. So they're very reliant on the back row for tapping, and if you do use Winter Gift Eddie's effect, then you tap her, and then you can't level swap, and that may hurt you for the turn because your characters don't gain their extra benefits when you level swap. So another reason why this is not as powerful as Off-Time Makoto. And yeah, IMAS not really dependent on their back row. They don't have a plus brainstorm, so they don't really need to tap their back row. They have a spammable brainstorm. They're not really that reliant on their back row, so Off-Time Makoto tapping herself is never really a problem. But this one is kind of a problem because you can only search out book, and she does rest herself. And like I said, resting the back row is very crucial to Milky Holmes. So it does have its downsides as well. But still, her first effect is, like I said, very good. Not broken or not completely not completely broken or anything, but it's still a very solid first effect. So don't really know if Milky Holmes players are going to run this because, like I said, you can only search out Eddie characters. Not too sure how strong the book characters are. And secondly, you're always constantly tapping your back row for other shenanigans. So not too sure where this card, if people are going to run this card, but if they do run this card, I would not be surprised because the first effect is very powerful. So I would say a welcome addition to the set, but like I said before, because of my lack of knowledge, I'm not too sure if the Milky Holmes players will be running this. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if they did. Enough about Off-Time Eddie. Let's go on. 0025 Uncommon, Winter Gift Shadow. She's Detective and Camera. What she does is when this card declares an attack, choose one of your other detective characters, and it gains power plus X until the end of the turn, where X is the number of detective characters you control multiplied by 500. This Shadow, I think, is a very solid card. She sits at 0025, which is a decent number, which is the normal number that level 0s hit if they have an additional effect. So 0025, already not bad. Also, her effect is pretty good. When she declares an attack, she gives 500 to another detective character, so she can't pump herself, and she gives a power, times X equal to how many detectives you have. If you have a full field of detectives, you can give a total of plus 2,500 power. That's if you have 5 detective characters. At the very least, if you only have her and another character, you're giving 500 powers, which is honestly not that bad at all. So the fact that this Shadow is level 0, easily splashable into the builds because it's red, and red is a very good color in Milky Holmes. So it's red, it's red, it's level 0, really easy to splash into, and its effect is good. It can either give it at least gives 500 power, and it can give up to 2,500 power, which is really awesome. So it can give a bunch of power for 2,000 for one. It can give a bunch of power for one turn, which is awesome. And if you have two of these, you can be rocking 5,000 power to a single character for one turn. Yeah, and also if they don't kill your shadow for whatever reason, then next turn she can attack again and thus give more power. So Shadow, I think, is a very solid card, and she's only uncommon too. So if you have a couple extra space in your deck, and you want a character that gives extra power, then you can run Shadow because Milky Holmes level 3 is a bit dependent on power, like the Halloween PR. She needs to reverse her opponent, so the Shadow here would be a welcome addition because she can give a lot of power to the Halloween PR. Even the new level 3 Eddie needs to reverse the opponent's character to clock shoot, and once again the Shadow helps you accomplish that. So yeah, extra power is always nice. A level 0 that can give extra power is always nice. So I would say this Shadow is definitely very... She's good. I like the card a lot, and she's only uncommon, so you can't really complain. So solid card. Next up, we have this 116KR Hanasaki's Mamui Kokoro. Police and music. What she does is when this card is placed from hand to stage, and if you have 4 or more other police characters, you can choose one police character from your waiting room and place it onto their stock. And she has a hand encore. So she's a 1/1. She's essentially a 1/1. Or she's essentially a 1/0, I should say, with hand encore, because if you have a full field of polices, then you gain a free stock. But the benefit of the stock that you gain is you control the stock. You put a police character from your raiding room and you put it to your stock. So it's not a blind stock, so the stock is clean, and she has hand encore. So with a full field of polices, and then you play Kokoro last, she pretty much pays for herself. So she's essentially a 106k. And what's nice is that when she hits the field, she will stay on the field because she does have hand encore, which is awesome. But don't really know. So yeah, it's not a bad card. Of course, gonna be used in your police variants because you need to have 4 more police characters to gain her first effect. If you are playing her without accomplishing her first effect, then you're playing a very, very weak card. So of course, I would say it's good in the police variants. And of course, with the new police assist, the 1/1 that gives clock encore to your polices, you can have her have both hand encore and clock encore, which is lousy and unnecessary. But I would not unnecessary. It's lousy. And it's nice that you have control of both hand encore and clock encore, and you have that in conjunction with your 1/0 level 1 suicider that the police now has. So yeah, solid card for the police variants, and I guess I'll leave it at that. Let's go on. It's a 1165 uncommon Henriette. She's detective and student council. Sorry, that was my sister. Anyways, she's a 1165 uncommon, detective and student council. What she does is, when you have 2 or more other Phantom Thief characters, this card gains +1 level and +500. And she has another effect of this card gains the Phantom Thief trait while on stage. So this card is obviously for the Phantom Thief builds, which we have seen them trying to promote in this booster. And if you have 2 more Phantom Thieves, she's she's a 2/1 7k essentially. So she hits vanilla power, but she's level 2, so she can't be level 1 suicided, and it makes it very difficult for your opponent to side against her, which is nice. And she does gain the Phantom Thief trait on the field. So I don't know if the Phantom Thieves have a better 1/1, but from what we've seen so far, I don't think they have a better 1/1. So I guess if the Phantom Thief decks need a good 1/1, then this card can fill that spot because it's a 2/1 7k essentially. The only problem is that it doesn't have Phantom Thief while it's in the deck. So if you use the event that we talked about last week, where you look at top 4 and you grab a Phantom Thief, then you can't grab her because she's not a Phantom Thief in the deck. She's only a Phantom Thief on the field, so that can pose to be a problem. But still, like I said, I'm not too sure about the Phantom Thief variants. So the Phantom Thieves need a good 1/1. then I guess this Henriette can do it. The only problem is she doesn't have Encore, and she's only 7k, which isn't that powerful. 117k is, you know, in today's meta, not that strong. So, not the best card ever, but it's an uncommon, and it's for the Phantom Thief build, so, I guess you can't really complain. Not the greatest card, though. On to Thursday, 1045 uncommon. It's not just about the singing, Marin. What she does is for every marker underneath her, she gains +1 level and plus 1500. And she has another effect of when this card reverses its opponent in battle, you may choose one Melodia from your waiting room and place it underneath this card face down to serve it as a marker. Melodia is this 0/0 here. It's a 0/0/15 element and music. You may place any number of this card with the same name as this card into your deck. And she has another effect of all your other Melodia, and it's not just about the singing. Marin gains +1k power until the end of the turn. If you guys noticed, the color of my screen just kind of changed a little. I have a program that changes the color of my computer screen when it hits 7 o'clock, just because it makes it easier on my eyes. But so don't freak out, nothing's going on. Anyways, a little off track, but. So you can have as many of this card as you want in your deck. So of course this is kind of like a joke deck, a lousy deck, a little fan deck. So this Marin, very similar to the Asuna from Sword Art Online, very similar to the two girls or the one girl in Idolmaster. I don't know their name, but very similar to those cards. Every time they kill something, they get +1 level and plus 1500. I'm sure nearly everybody's known by now. Marker Asuna, at least almost every player has been rocked by Marker Asuna at least once in their life, because that card, or these marker cards, are very snowbally. Once they get started, it can be difficult to stop them, just depending on what deck you're building. Once they kill one thing, they're 6k, and then next turn, if you try to kill them, if they back up, then they become 7/5, and then from there, it just becomes very difficult for you to get rid of them. So, a marker card, which is always nice. However, this one is not as good as the other ones because, of course, as you can see, you need to put a Melodia from your waiting. You can only put a Melodia underneath her. The Melodia is, of course, orientated around this joke deck, a fan deck, because it's very specific. You can have as much of her as you want in your deck. That's already a giant sign for a fan deck, and but I guess, for the fan deck's perspective, it's not bad because all your other Melodia, and it's not just about singing Marin, gain +1k power. So if you have two of her in the back, she's right off the bat, she's a 1065, like, even without any markers. So you have two of these in the back, which is going to be very easy to do because I'm going to assume that you have many of these Melodias in your deck. I'm going to say maybe like 30 or 40. No, I would say 30 like Melodias in your deck. So if you have like 30 of these, you have two in the back row. She's already a 1065. She kills something, then she's like a 108k, and then and then from there it gets pretty ridiculous. So it's cool for the fan deck. I can see this card going out of control very fast if your opponent doesn't have a wind trigger, just because of the Melodia herself. She gives a lot of power to her. So of course the downside of the Marker Asuna card is if you hit level 1 first before the SAO player, if you have a strong level 1 game, it can be hard for them to successfully marker anything, and at that point Marker Asuna kind of becomes a dead card. But this Melodia, like I said, starts off fairly strong, because if you have at least two of these in the back, then she's already a 1065, and that's pretty respectable in her own right. So of course, lousy, and it's cool, but of course, it's a fan deck thing, it's a joke. Next up, 112k uncommon, World of Children, Marin. Marine? I don't know. What she does is, during your own turn, if this card has the music trait, all your other characters gain +2k power. How she gains the music trait is when your other characters reverse their opponent in battle, all your characters gain the music trait until the end of the turn. So first of all, she's a 112k, which makes her susceptible to Wing Slayer. Always just something to point out. So she's susceptible to Wing Slayer. First, she doesn't give any power, but when one of your characters reverse your opponent's character, then she activates, and then she gives your other character, and then she will give all your characters +2k power, which is a lot of power. But seeing as how she needs to gain the music trait, and how she gains the music trait is by reversing your opponent's characters, at least one of them reversing your opponent's character. Getting the first reversal off may be difficult for you to accomplish because she, like I said, doesn't give any power right off the bat. But once you do get that first reverse, then the other two will get 2k, and at that point it will be fairly easy for you to wipe your opponent's field. So this card's cool. It's a cool idea, but I don't really like it. Just because, like I said, it can be if you can't ever reverse your opponent, if you can't reverse one of your opponent's characters, then this card becomes extremely dead. But what's cool as well is that this card can work on defending, because if your opponent attacks and then you back up, you reverse one of your opponent's characters, and then her ability goes off, she gains music, and then, oh, never mind, it's only during your own turn. That makes it worse. Never mind, you can't even use it during your opponent's turn. So that makes me not like this card all that much more, because like I said, if you can't reverse anything, then she's completely dead. So not really a fan of this card. I'm not, if the set has their own way of giving music trait to her, then maybe it might be better. I know in the TD, this girl was more prominent in the TD, and there was more music shenanigans going on, but Checkers did the Milky Holmes TD review, so I don't exactly remember if there's a card that gives music trait to the other characters, and if there is, I guess it makes this card even better. If there's a consistent way to constantly give your characters, or if there's a consistent way to constantly give this card the music trait, then I guess it could be better. But just off the top of my head, I can't remember, and if there isn't, then you know what I said earlier will stand. I don't really like this card because, like I said, if you can't reverse anything, then she's dead, and during your opponent's turn, your cards are very weak on defending. So yeah. Next up, 2-1 backup, event backup, I should say. Chopping onions, lols, that's kind of funny. What she does, or what this event does, I should say, is choose one of your characters against power plus X until the end of the turn, where X is the number of detective characters you control multiplied by 1000. So, of course, if you have a full field of detectives, then this card becomes a 5k backup, which honestly isn't that hard to accomplish. So, usually, most of the time, this will be a 2-1, 4k, or 5k backup. You know, that's cool and all, but once again, or you know, it's an event backup, so you can't salvage it, so you have to draw into it, which makes it more difficult to get. And also, the Milky Holmes deck is very reliant on the 1-0 backup, the 103k backup that swaps a card in your level up area with a climax in your level up zone. Nearly all Milky Holmes player runs a playset of that card, so they run 4 of those 103k backups. And at that point, do you really need more backups? And if you do, are you willing to choose an event backup? Because they'll probably run 4 of the 103k backup, and then maybe they'll now run 1 of this Cordelia backup. At that point, do you really need more backups? I mean, you're already running 4 103k backups, which is already really strong. And let's say, you know, people might want to run the anti-change backup for extra utility. At that point, do you really need an event backup? I don't really think so, but I personally am not a fan of event backups, so that makes me a little more biased against this card. But yeah, like I said, with the 103k backup being so powerful as it already is, don't really think there's gonna be space for this event backup, I should say. But I could be wrong, because like I said, it's a very powerful backup. But I don't see it being ran, but I don't really see it being ran. Damn it, my Skype. Silence. Anyways, and yeah, so not a big fan of this card, and like I said, there's enough you're already running enough backups in Milky Holmes, I don't think you need any more. And lastly, Friday, like what they typically do, no new leaks, just showing off all the cool cards again. So once again, they're just showing off the level 3 signed variants. And that is all for this video, and this does conclude all the Milky Holmes booster reviews. So yeah, next week we are, or I should say this week since I'm behind, we are starting the Fate Zero trial deck, or the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade World trial deck, I should say. So yeah, conclusion of Milky Holmes, and I think this booster pack was pretty cool. It gave a couple interesting level zeros, like I think the level 3 Eddie is really good. I think the Cordelia is cool, is interesting. I personally like this Neto, but I don't think it's going to be run, but I think it's cool. The Shadow, or yeah, the Shadow or this card, or Suzuko, a very solid level 3 as well. So they introduced a solid amount of level 3s. They gave the the police deck slash Alice slash Kazumi build slash Phantom Thieves more support. And you know, they also got another more solid cards. They got an anti-change, they got off-time Makoto, they got a Shadow now. The Shadow I like a lot. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good booster, but I'm no Milky Holmes player. So what do you guys think about this booster? Do you think if you're a Milky Holmes player or you have a lot of knowledge about Milky Holmes, do you think this booster helped Milky Holmes a lot, or do you think it's just kind of like a meh booster pack, or do you not think it changes much at all? Let me know what you guys think below, but I think it's a good booster. But like I said, I'm not a Milky Holmes player, so what do I know? So yeah, that is all for this video, guys, and until next time.